So the Dallas Mavericks are 9-15 since acquiring Kyrie Irving right before the trade deadline. People are freaking out, as they should. This seemed like not a match made in heaven, but it seemed like a fit that should work. Usually when you put two really good players together, they just kind of seem to figure it out. They haven't quite done it yet. Maybe it's Jason Kidd's fault. Maybe Kyrie and Luka just can't play together. Who knows what it is? But either way, despite all the struggles, despite the fact that there's a pretty legit chance that they're not going to make the playoffs, the Dallas Mavericks are going to resign Kyrie Irving. I can tell you that right now. Okay? You know why? Because it is extremely difficult to find a second option in the NBA, especially when you have a really good young player like Luka, where if you only have him, you're not going to be bad enough to go and draft a second star. Very similar to LeBron James, right? LeBron James gets drafted number 1 overall. He goes to Cleveland. They're never able to find him a second star because they were never bad enough for them to go and draft somebody. And so I think there's a real danger of that happening here again with Luka. And it's a fair thing, right? It's a fair thing to be worried about. And the other thing, too, is the Mavericks had their second guy in Jalen Brunson. They let him walk. Now he's playing really well with the Knicks. And the Mavs are just kicking themselves. And now they know that they for sure have a guy in Kyrie Irving who is good enough to be the second option beside Luka. They do not want to see another talented guy leave their team again. So I'm telling you right now, they're going to re-sign Kyrie Irving. Not only because of the fact that they don't want to see another talented guy walk out of their building, but they're going to tell themselves 3 things. Okay, they're going to talk themselves into Kyrie Irving, just like how every Dallas Mavericks fan has done it so far this year, and how they're going to continue to do it. Okay, so the first thing that they're going to tell themselves, is that they've given up just too much to not keep Kyrie Irving long term. They've given up wing defenders and 3-and-D guys and Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, and they give up draft picks. Like, we can't give all that away and then not have Kyrie for at least another 2 or 3 years. That would just be an absolute total waste. Okay, like, we have to make this trade. We have to give it at least a possibility of working, right? And if we only, give it 30 games or so, and then we let him leave, like, that's not a big enough sample size to know whether or not this works. And maybe, like, that ends up being true. Maybe Kyrie and Luka play some more games together, and then eventually they figure it out. Doesn't look like that's going to happen, though. The other thing that they're going to tell themselves is that they just need wing defenders. The very thing that they gave up to get Kyrie Irving, because they're very valuable. Having wing defenders who can knock down open shots is an extremely valuable asset in the NBA. And so, they had to give up, their guys who do that. And so now their defense is horrendous. That's a nice way to say it. And so they're sitting there, they're going to tell themselves, you know what, we go out in the offseason, we sign some 3-and-D guys, we get some wing defenders who can play some good defense, then we should be fine. The defensive troubles may still be there a little bit because we're going to have Kyrie and Luka on the floor at the same time, but they won't be nearly as bad. Okay, we do that, we go get a rim protector, and we'll be fine. Okay, they're going to talk themselves into this. I'm telling you right now, they're going to tell themselves that. They're also going to say this. They're going to look at the games that Luka and Kyrie have played together. They've played 13 games together. They're 4-9. They're going to completely ignore the fact that they're 4-9. Okay, here's what they're going to do. Instead, they're going to go look at the 4 games that they've won. They're going to be like, scored 142 points in that one, scored 133 points in the other one, scored 120 points in that one. Oh, and then we scored 127 points against them, and we won that game. And when Luka and Kyrie are playing well together, the offense is just so hard to stop. That's what they're going to tell themselves. And they're going to completely ignore the fact that those 4 wins came against the Spurs, the 76ers, the Jazz, and the Pacers. There's a legit chance that 3 of those 4 teams do not make the playoffs. Obviously, the only team making the playoffs being the 76ers, who they lost to last night because they couldn't get stops, because they gave up 130-something points last night. They're going to talk themselves into this. They're going to give Kyrie Irving a whole bunch of money just for him to be a huge problem down there. You should have kept Brunson. I think it's safe to say that now. after seeing what he's done in New York and seeing just how desperate the Mavs are to find a second guy, even though I do like the Hardy kid, the second-round pick, a guy who was the number 2 overall recruit in high school last year, just heading into college. He played in the G League and just didn't play very well. So it's really just kind of interesting to see how all this is going to play out. I don't think that they want to lose another guy that they know can play, another guy who they know is capable of being a legit number 2. So they're going to re-sign him. They're going to talk themselves into it. And we're going to sit back next year and we're going to watch the Mavericks go 42-40 and score a whole bunch of points but play absolutely no defense. Maybe they blame Jason Kidd as well. Maybe they fire Jason Kidd and they bring in somebody else. I don't know. Jason Kidd looked fine last year. This year, not so much, since they've gotten rid of all these defensive pieces, and Jason Kidd is definitely more of a defensive head coach. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. They have to add rim protection. They have to add some wing defenders to even give this a chance at working. It'll be interesting to see how it all develops. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. You want to hear more from me? Follow me on Twitter at jshmitt_4. Go check out the podcast, Shooting the Shmitt, spelled the exact same way. You can find it anywhere you find your podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch the video. I will talk to y'all again later.